Read their chat on screen, it's unhinged. If I criticize a certain side, I know that I'm gonna pick up people that are way on the other side of me, and every now and then, we will have an ethnic cleansing of those people. And I will tweet unhinged stuff. I will drop some N-bombs. I bet this chat is like probably 50% of you polled them. I bet they're 50% socialists. A podcast called Live and Learn. The socialists are literally a f***ing cancer in your party.
I'm just not telling you who I voted for. I am not going to influence your opinion in any direction.
This is insane.
Don't shake your head, no.
Well, actually, Hutch, you started this fight with us. Can you
Mm-hmm.
address that part, Hutch? Because I think, listen, I'm not a foreign policy guy, but from what little I've heard, that was, I think, a pretty good point, this idea that it doesn't necessitate the death of Israeli citizens. If the Israeli government is capable of funding the Iron Dome on itself, Israel just can't have its cake and eat it too. They can't simultaneously commit an offensive war with it.
Just so you guys know, I don't know why nobody understands this, okay? The Iron Dome is there to protect Arabs, okay? If you don't know anything about what's going on, just understand the Iron Dome exists to protect Arabs. Israel didn't win the war in 48 with the Iron Dome. They didn't win the war in 67 or in 73 because of the Iron Dome, all right? If you want to get rid of the Iron Dome, then fine, go for it. But then the next barrage of rockets is going to be the real genocide, all right? The next time, 100, 1,000 rockets come in and blow up, a quarter of Tel Aviv, the only reason you guys even have a leg to stand on is because that Iron Dome exists. You really think that Israel is going to tolerate getting randomly bombed constantly by its neighbors, number one, and then two, not retaliate with the fucking hand of God, now knowing that they have nothing to keep themselves from being randomly killed by right? Like, it's, so people don't even know what they're advocating for. It's so stupid.
Impunity and rely on the United States largesse. They can protect themselves. It doesn't necessitate Israeli deaths. It would also prevent them from being in a position to inflict such casualties on Palestinians. Do you accept that?
It's the exact opposite. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Jewish people or white people or what makes people so brain broken on this. Like, oh, okay. Well, your neighbor that's launching 5,000 million rockets at you constantly. Well, now we can't protect ourselves from them. What should we do? Let's go to them and negotiate in peace. The ones that are calling for global jihad against you, with the raped, body broken girl in the truck, those people, right? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, yeah, let's go and have happy, peaceful negotiations with them, and we're going to figure out all of our problems. It's going to be wonderful.
Yes, that's an understandable argument. I understand what you're saying here. If we can dive into the practical consideration here.
Okay.
No.
Wait. But can you grant that at least? I mean, wait. So you're going to say grant? Okay. So you're great. Okay. Cool.
I understand that argument. Maybe I didn't hear what he was saying exactly because I was in my own head or whatever. But yes, that makes sense. But just now, can we dive into the practical?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
For someone like AOC, right? You guys want to see her succeed,
I get what you mean when saying that without the Iron Dome, Israel's retaliation would be much harsher, but that doesn't mean the purpose of it is to protect Palestinians. It is still there to protect Israel. This guy said it so good. I'm not gonna be able to find it. It was a Twitter video of Zizek talking about how when the West, it has to do with what was it? I don't remember if this was about the Middle East, but when the West criticizes itself and tries to hold itself accountable, it is doing it with a language that is it was invented by the West and it's exclusively understood by the West. And nobody else on the planet uses these same types of bizarro fucking analyses or standards by which it analyzes itself. I wish I could remember what this tweet was. Oh my God, it's here.
Varoufakis, who likes to repeat, Europa is kaput. No. I think that the first symptom is that what unites all around the world, left and right, they all hate united Europe. For example, Latino Americans claim Eurocentrism the worst. In Africa, you did the slavery blah blah first. Here I learned from intelligent right-wingers. It's not true. You know that the Muslims got more slaves from Eastern Africa than Latin Americans from the West. So then Putin against Europe, everybody, China and so on. Why is this happening when everybody is telling us Europe is over, but at the same time Eurocentrism is presented as the ultimate enemy? No, I think today history took care of, under quotation marks, bad aspects of Eurocentrism. But what remains is, here I I mean, are we aware, one argument, that even those who criticize European legacy, they do it strictly in the terms which were articulated by the European legacy.
Like, people use Eurocentrism to criticize Euro or Western centrism. I bring this back to say that about the Iron Dome, and it's funny because I feel like this is an edgy thing to say, but it's not actually edgy. It's just so true. Israel is a victim, in a large extent, of their Eurocentrism. This is going to sound incredibly edgy if you're retarded, but if you know the slightest bit of history in the region, it is so obvious that because Israel came in as a Western-style democracy and they try to hold themselves accountable and all this bullshit, they have the problems today that they do as a result of their not being able to reconcile those values with the region. If Israel was like Turkey, they would have murdered every single Palestinian, and we wouldn't be talking about the Palestinians today. Like the Turks did with the Armenians and however many other ethnic groups, like they do today with the fucking Kurds, like they did when they expelled all the fucking Greeks. Like, it wouldn't even be a conversation. Turkey had no problem marching 1 million motherfuckers off into the Syrian deserts to die because they were like, oh, this is a place for our ethnic group and nobody else. Bye. It wouldn't even be a thought in your head. And nobody talks about, okay, there's only like 20 countries even recognize the Armenian genocide as a real thing today. Like, nobody even gives a. So you have that issue of like Israelis are like, oh, well, we're better than those people. We're Western and we're democratic and we're going to not just slaughter and murder everybody is the first issue. And then the second issue is Israel saying like, oh, well, we're going to engage in self-critique, right? Who are you quoting and who are you citing all the time when you're talking about the horrible things that Israel does, right? You're talking about Haaretz, right? This is an Israeli news source. You're talking about B'Tselem, which was an organization created in Israel by Israeli Jews to monitor the Palestinian crisis, right? And then what part of the UN is keeping track of the Palestinians? UNRWA, literally a branch in the UN that was created just to monitor the Palestinians. If you want to, so when people are like, well, look at all this horrible stuff from Israeli history, how do you even know that? You know that because Israel has opened their archives and made it available for you to go through and read it to actually criticize them. When you're criticizing like Egyptian history, it's not because they've opened their historical archives for you to go through. When was the last time Bashar al-Assad invited historians in to audit the administration? When was the last time the Jordanian monarchy invited people in to go through past documents and cables between diplomatic figures? When was the last time Saddam Hussein or any leader of Iraq or the Ayatollah in Iran, like it's such an insane world. I don't care. At the end of the day, we can all hate Jews together. That's what I'm trying to say, okay?
Like, she is the biggest champion right now. Because she's the biggest champion by far for democratic socialism or progressive policies 100%. In Congress. Bernie's very clearly handing her the mantle. She very clearly, I think, is not going to be content to stay in the House. I don't think she wants to be House Speaker. I think she wants to be a senator, a governor, or president. I think
we'll see. Yeah.
I think that's my sense of things, right?
Wait, is that true? Okay, so I don't know, I guess, as much about like politics and stuff for Congress. Wouldn't Speaker of the House be a more prestigious role than Senator? That would be my assumption, right? Way more people know of Pelosi and Mike Johnson than any random fuck senator, no? Although maybe some senator positions are more prestigious. Hillary Clinton was senator from New York, right?
As such, you should be actively rooting for her to do these kinds of votes, because
these like ruthless kind of votes.
This type of thing is the type of thing that will come back to like.
Oh, he just means a random speaker in Congress, not a speaker in the House. Oh, okay.
Bite her in the ass. 4 years from now, she's going to be on a debate stage, or 3 years from now, she's going to be on a debate stage.
Wait, the way she voted, or if she voted a different way? Can you clarify?
If she voted to strip funding for the Iron Dome,
gotcha.
There's going to be a moderator or whatever during the primary debates, and they're going to ask her, why did you vote to strip a defensive missile system? And even if your argument here is persuasive, to normie voters, they're just going to hear, like, what? You wanted to get rid of their defensive missile systems? And this is going to be something like that is baggage. And there was no upside to her doing that vote. Why does she need to shore up her support from a lefty online voter base? Why does she still need their support?
I'm not super offended by this vote. I think people who are so out about it are cringe.
She voted against the bill. She voted
because it was dead on arrival, right? Like
bill.
How many votes did it get?
The amendment only got 6. Her amendment only got 6 votes, bro. It was like 400 plus people voted against it.
But
wait, really? That's what these people are so fucking mad about? The lefties? Not these guys here, but the people online.
But I would like critique, and I would be scathing to anyone who, like, if AOC did vote in favor of this provision, I wouldn't have a problem with it either. And if she voted against that, I don't really have a problem with that. For me, it's not a humongous deal. It's not like the other kind of signaling votes that do matter to me, for example, that indicate weakness, right? On the one hand,
but you understand how people are going to weaponize a vote like that in the future, and it's just going to cost.
Actually, I'm not super offended by it. I think the people who are so out about it would vote for her, probably. And I think that she would get huge support from the far left community, from the pro-Palestinian community. And just to be clear about where I stand on something, I go after Ogre Boy because individually, I think a lot of there are some pro-Palestinian commentators who do have to answer for their votes with respect to not voting for Kamala or voting for Trump in some cases. But in general, like the lefts voted for Kamala, and so I'm so done with this narrative. It's just really just not true that like we're in favor of having that like fall out. The left by and large is voting for the Democratic candidate. It's not a huge deal, and I think people will get over it. And I think that I have to make a little self-critique or critique you, Hutch, a little bit. I think that the amount of time that you spend on lefties is a little inordinate given the risk that they pose from an electoral perspective.
They are all viciously attacking the best chance for democratic socialism in the Congress right now.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, Netanyahu. I'll talk to you later. Sorry, I was just finishing up a call with my good close friend. Anyway, I hate that the lefties get to occupy this position of simultaneously being like not the sole, but a huge disseminator of information on media, but also politically irrelevant, because it lets them occupy this like dual position of like, why are you criticizing us so much, guys? Like, we don't kind of vote. It doesn't matter. And then also, by the way, we're about to set the narratives for the entire alternative media left online. Good luck. In a way, I've even played into this a bit. When I argue with conservatives, I'm like, hey, listen, like these people don't vote. They're not relevant. OK, can we stop talking about them? Although that's when addressing conservatives who are worried about policy. We should be talking right now when we're talking to ourselves on the left about like, what does our message look like? I don't know if I fully agree with Pisco here, though. Wasn't it the case that there were places like for Michigan, did the Dearborn voters actually kind of lean away, like from where we would expect them? How did Dearborn vote? Dearborn vote. Is there like a clean and easy way to see Trump won? No, that's not true. Hold on. That can't possibly be the case, right? Jill Stein got 18% of the vote. 18% of the vote. Trump won with 42.48%, and Kamala got 36.26% in a 55% Middle Eastern district. Holy shit. I guess it's in line with nobody kills Arabs more than Arabs do. Jesus.
They'll get over it.
What do you mean?
How did they vote in 2020? Dearborn, Michigan, vote 2020. Results. Biden won 68.8 to 29.7. Ah! Oh, damn. Specifically in the south area of Dearborn, an area with a high concentration of Arab American voters, Biden secured an even larger majority, winning 88% of the vote. Anyway, okay, sorry. This fucking Gaza issue has been a brain rot fucking issue. But also based. You know what? Arabs deserve it, okay? If you guys can mind fuck our media, fucking Qataris are sitting here shilling money to every fucking Ivy League college in America, being like, tell them the Jews did it, okay? You know what? Fucking A, dude.
Well, perspective.
They are all viciously attacking the best chance for democratic socialism in the Congress right now. Pull up her tweet and go in there.
They'll get over it.
What do you mean get over it?
Hassan will do a stream. Hassan will do a stream with it.
Hassan, the largest left-wing streamer on the internet, just so you know. Go ahead.
Progressive media have no power.
Well,
really?
I think what he's saying, and I'm curious about this, and maybe we should ask Lakshya about this when we talk to him next Monday, is I think Pisco's argument is, though they will bitch online about that it doesn't manifest meaningfully in voter turnout.
You know what? You know what they need to do? They need to have five lib and learns. They need to start bringing IRI on the show. Gee, because holy Christ.
By and large, lefties, progressives will still vote for the moderate Democratic candidate if a Republican is the alternative.
I completely reject this notion.
Oh my God, is he gonna have the numbers?
A collective of audiences that number in the millions.
Also, yeah, you have to understand, For the same side, now I'm not saying that any of these three guys did this, okay? Although I did this, and I still believe this. For the same side that says, oh my God, negative influence online can lead to horrible beliefs in real life, like even hanging out in certain humor environments can lead you to adopt really dangerous and harmful beliefs. For that side to be like, well, the entire left-wing media apparatus is pushing this absolute and utter nonsense that is self-destructive to the party, but that shouldn't manifest in any material way in the real world, LOL. That can't be, you can't have both of those positions.
Mm-hmm. That traffic in this kind of idiotic, myopic, juvenile, like baseless oftentimes rhetoric. You don't think that's doing damage electorally? Especially when these elections are this close?
No, it's
you guys
not,
are high,
no,
man.
I don't.
It's not,
you're high.
It's not,
you're all,
it's not. No. But it's not. It's not that I don't think there's some margin of people that would be convinced by this. But we have to consider a few things. All right. So number one, a lot of these people have overlapping audiences, right? Number two.
Wait. A lot of these people have overlapping audiences, so it's all an illusion. Actually, they're not that large online. They're not as big as they seem.
A lot of the audience of these people aren't necessarily like anti-electoralist or like Green Party.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I don't know if this chatter missed this point earlier. Is bringing up this. Destiny, everything about Israel Palestine being interesting can be said about Turkey/Greece in Cyprus. Yet nobody. I'm sorry. You're saying in Cyprus particularly. The Greeks are a fallen empire. No one cares. Turks are seen as brown in the West, even though they're not really, but they're all basically Arabs to us. Even the Persians, even the Turks, everybody's like Arab to us. So as long as they're doing the oppressing, nobody actually gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Sorry, bro. That's the way that it goes.
Well, a lot of the audience of these people aren't necessarily like anti-electoralist or like Green Party voting socialists. A lot of the people that watch these people are also libs, are also Democratic Party voters who just take a more skeptical view of things. And so when we look at, I think to Pisco's point, this is what resonates with me. Like when we look at like polling data, voting behavior, we can even look at the anecdotes of just like what happens when AOC gives a public appearance or gives a public speech, right? You do find that there are some people, and by the way, this was a vote that she took a year ago. It was substantially the same vote where she voted to continue funding the Iron Dome. And
it literally was.
Look at what happened in that last year. Like, yeah, there have been a few people that have shown up to a few of her events and yelled at her. They threw paint on her, like her office, I guess, the other day. But look, she's going to coast to re-election in 2020.
I also think there's something to be said, okay, and the Jews should know this better than anybody, because this type of rhetoric, I think you have to be careful. Remember. We're trying to get ahead where the puck is going to be, okay, and not where the puck was, all right? Greece was never an empire. I was trolling. There's this weird thing that happens, okay? You have like three different environments, okay? On the right, you have an environment where everybody is fucking 9-year-olds, okay? We'll call this pedo paradise, all right? And then on the left, you have an environment where when somebody's like, shouldn't we be able to fuck 9-year-olds? Everybody's like, what? We'll call this pedo hell, okay? And there's this weird middle world that we are occupying right now in regards to, I would say easily anti-Semitism, but a lot of other stuff as well, where somebody can float an idea and be like, well, would fucking 9-year-olds really be that bad? And not everybody has an instant revulsion to it. But then when the people that do have a big revulsion to it do, are like, wait, hold on. We probably should never be fucking 9-year-olds. Everybody else is like, bro, this is like not that many people like talking about this. It's not really that big of a deal. It's probably, I don't think that we're all going to be like pro 9-year-old fucking or whatever, right? Where the problem isn't that there are only a few people saying it. The problem is there's an eerie amount of tolerance to that type of rhetoric being as pervasive as it is. So I think the right has had an issue with this when it comes to like neo-Nazi shit for a while, right? Where, like I've said this multiple times, even after the Jubilee thing, I don't think those people on that Jubilee show, I think are a fraction of the MAGA movement. Like some of those views as high as 30%, some of them as low as 2%. The problem isn't that it's low, or I wouldn't say that like, oh, there's other many of it's not a big deal. The issue is that the rhetoric is pervasive enough and not instantly pushed back on. There's not an instant revulsion to it. That is a huge issue. And so like even this thought here, I was like, well, you know, there's only a few people that are rabidly screaming about AOC sometimes when she goes to do her media rallies. So it's not a big idea, or it's not a huge problem, you know. So this isn't a big idea that's like pervasive among the entire left. It's like that's an uncomfortable amount of receptivity, or at the very least, it's an uncomfortable amount of like indifference or nihilism, or not nihilism. It's just indifference or acceptance, I guess, or tolerance, I should say. That's what I'm like, tolerance of that idea.
That have shown up to a few of her events and yelled at her. They threw paint on her, like her office, I guess, the other day. But look, she's going to coast to re-election in 2026, more likely than not.
She'll be fine.
I don't understand you guys. You want to use kid gloves with these people. I really don't.
I'm not using kid gloves.
Yes, you do. You want
What are you
to
talking about?
These are kid gloves. He's absolutely right. But for some reason, it's just, I don't know. It's just insane to me that this is just an insane clip to me. And it's not even this is why I get so mad on people chastising me over jokes about like dead girls in Texas, right? Like, do you think I want little girls to die in Texas? If you even have to think for a microsecond, you're idiot. It's very obvious, like, what my actual position is. If you deal with the slightest amount of good faith, or even if you don't deal with good faith, you hate me. Like, it's pretty obvious, like, what I'm saying, you know? Like, you guys clearly don't give a of this. I am going to sit here and laugh at it because you guys clearly don't care, because you're not taking any effective steps to remedy these things, right? But that will get called out for, you know, because it's a mean joke, whatever. I understand too, because, you know, I don't have the, I don't represent an intersection of political power that has enough movement behind it to make fun of dead children, right? I get that. Fine, that's fine. But the problem here is that, like, you have people, Hasan, who will say, like, vile jokes about a people, but they're not just jokes. There's underlying, all of it has a ton of, like, element of truth to it in terms of what he's saying. But he's not even dog whistling positions. He openly supports terrorist groups that are dedicated to the annihilation of Israel, the Jewish people. And he openly, like, supports the leaders that are there, right? He talked about Nasrallah or whatever when he was talking to Nick. He was like, yeah, you know, the U.S. doesn't like him, but remember Mandela? They didn't like him either, you know? Like, he's brought on, like, that little Houthi dude who he only brought on because that guy was posting stories about him being a pro-terrorist Houthi warrior who was laughing and joking about hostages that were captured. Like, it's just this an insane... And then... right, denying any of the rapes that happened, all of that was fake, even though the UN said it. Sometimes he likes the UN, sometimes he doesn't, I guess. Now, not because of any underlying analysis, just because of what they say. Was it Vosh? Vosh was the one who said that he would be okay with the complete and utter annihilation of Israel as a state. But it's like, we're so far past, I hate this too, because sometimes people will tweet at me, or they'll type things, or even in my community, like, oh, so now you're mad because he's joking? I thought edgy jokes were okay. I have no problem with edgy jokes. I wouldn't give a I make edgy jokes. I make edgy jokes about Jews sometimes, okay? There's lots of edgy jokes you can make, all right? The problem is these people aren't joking. Do you understand that? It's not even like the criticism is like, I think that Hasan's humor is like really problematic because it could lead people to bad beliefs. Hasan is a terrorist supporter, right? Like people like Hasan, there are strong arguments for, in the United States, I don't agree with it because I like our strong freedom of speech protections. But in other countries, I can see people like him being arrested. Like, unironically, if Hasan said the same thing about these terrorist organizations, if you were a German citizen and said the same thing about, like, neo-Nazis, you might actually get arrested or fined in places like Germany. It is just unhinged that you can be that avowedly pro-terrorist. And it's not even like he's supporting, you know, like, I support, like, a moderate movement. Like, I support, like, the Palestinian Authority. If I had to guess, I haven't seen him talk about it, he probably hates the Palestinian Authority because they're seen as too moderate. Like, this collection of things, this collection of things is just too much. It's insane. And remember, we freaked the fuck out collectively over people like Nick Fuentes like 8 years ago when he was like, and Stefan Molyneux, when these people were just like itty bitty YouTubers, we were losing our minds about stochastic terrorism and all of that. This is the largest left-wing streamer on the internet who regularly gets puff pieces made in journalistic outlets about him, mainstream ones, who regularly, you know, does interviews with major Democratic candidates. And then people are like, oh, come on, you're really going to shit on Hasan? You're really going to go after Hasan? He's just a streamer, bro. Like, there is an imbalance here, and it's not, you know, applied to Hasan. It's like that post yesterday on my subreddit or 2 days ago where they were like, the issue I think that people are having is they actually don't think that Trump is that bad. And I think it's the same thing here where people they just don't think that this is that bad. And our whole, I guess, political system has just gotten so fucking insane lately. You can't see anything for how fucked it actually is. And this is a guy, like, keep in mind, like, Hasan is like openly on shows. This is the crazy thing too. Or maybe it was always like this in politics. I don't know. I feel like when you read about weird political shit in the past, like people are kind of like dodgy, or not dodgy. People are like, they're not forthcoming about their political beliefs, right? Like there are no really strong records of Hitler ordering the Holocaust. You have to kind of dig for the implications for this, for the cable of him talking about liquidating a train full of Jews, and then kind of figure it out based on the rest of the admin. If Donald Trump was Hitler today, he would be talking openly about the Holocaust on Fox News, right? We would be getting Twitter videos of it. Half of them probably AI deepfaked of people going into mass extermination showers, right? Like it would be so much more open because people don't have to lie about it. Like Hasan was like literally on a show on YouTube publicly talking about how like, yeah, I lie. I go on like as a lib to try to present myself as a moderate so that I can indoctrinate more people into Marxist Leninism. It's just, I don't know. That's just wild to me.
Really
No,
don't.
I'm not using
get it.
hip hop.
Yes, you do. You want
What are
her
you
to
talking about?
You want her to be successful, and you're hand waving literally all of them.
No,
like,
I'm not, Hutch.
viciously.
I don't agree. We don't agree with them.
You are.
We don't
You're
agree with
saying
them.
it's not, well, it's not that big of a deal. When the entire
yeah.
lefty media
Like imagine that statement, right? Just you can feel it in the statements, right? Imagine somebody was bringing up like, why did AOC have a sit down with Nick Fuentes and talk for an hour and a half about how AOC's going to not have any children because she doesn't want to outbreed the white race, right? Imagine the response for these three guys. They're like, well, hold on. We don't agree with Nick Fuentes. We don't agree with him, dude. We don't agree with Fuentes, you know? That would not be the strength of that statement. The magnitude would be much greater. Right, that's the issue. And I don't know how people. Well, I know how people don't see it because it's hard to see because you get so boiling frog in a pot of water that's slowly heating up. I guess.
you are.
We don't
You're
agree with
saying
them.
it's not. Well, it's not that big of a deal. When the entire
Hutch is picking up on this, right? Yeah.
lefty media ecosystem are throwing her under the bus right now. All
but
of
they're
them.
not.
We don't think it will manifest in any kind of electoral result.
Like this is the equivalent. That thing. Like I don't think it'll manifest in any electoral. In any type of electoral thing. That's the equivalent to Emma on this panel said something along the lines of like, oh, like I'm just a YouTuber, so I don't even think I have that much influence or whatever. It was so crazy.
Insular, because that's how we lose and they win.
Yeah, I guess I'm struck by like I feel as if we really just don't matter that much. Like, as YouTube personalities or Twitch personalities, I think it's just we have to be vessels to get people politically organized. And at least how I feel is the guests that I have on my show. When we
what is the point of anything we're doing if we don't think we matter at all?
have on somebody who is works in I don't know, like Astra Taylor, for example, we have on regularly with the Debt Collective. She is actively making change, working with the Biden administration to try to get student debt canceled. And that original cancellation that he did, that eventually the Supreme Court got overturned, that's a direct result of what they did, what the Debt Collective and Astra Taylor did. Like that's I guess what I view my role as is using the fact that some people.
I'm not convinced that it will have a material effect on her election chances with respect to like any kind.
Like with her election chances. Thank you. Yes, AOC is in a plus 250 point Dem district. We understand that. But the idea that all of the left wing media coming together to shit on somebody online is irrelevant. Like, again, think of the standards that the right wing sets. Right? Has there ever been a time where look at the right wing on the Epstein stuff? I feel like it's been simultaneously horrifying and fascinating to watch themselves try to stay together on all of it, right? Where some people are trying to break, but people are chastising them and they're bringing them back in line. And you've got the lawmakers and you've got Mike Johnson that are on TV saying it's not that big of a deal. You've got Trump saying it's not that big of a deal. You've got the cabinet members trying to push on it saying it's not really that big of a deal. And some people are kind of breaking, and when they do, they're getting eviscerated by the party. They try so hard to keep it all together. And then on the left, we're like, who the fuck cares what anybody in our party fucking thinks? Does it really matter at the end of the day? LOL, it's just the entire online media apparatus. It shouldn't manifest in any negative way. Like, why don't we take a little bit of a pointer from the side that it has all the levers of power right now politically? Like, maybe they're doing a couple things right. It certainly isn't fucking policy, right? So maybe there's something to be gleaned there, some kind of insight to be gleaned there, maybe?
Kind of ambitious with the president and anything related to the Senate by your own metric, right? By your own metric.
Anything related to the Senate. So none of the online media space matters by your own metric. What are we about to say here?
kind of ambitious with the president and anything related to the Senate. By your own metric, right? By your own metric, she is going to do better because of this vote. Like, you are the one who's billing this as a strategic move.
She's going to do well, like with moderates or maybe in like future positions. And it's not even so much that she's going to do well with this move. It's that the people that are pressuring right now for a vote are asking her for a vote that would just be completely fucking horrible. It's not even that she's going to do well. This is like you have to do at least this to survive politically in the future.
These people, you get that?
Yeah. In spite of them.
Well, I don't think that Econoboy and Pisco are saying that the left bitching about AOC
we disagree
online
with
is
that.
helping.
I think it's
I don't think that they're saying that it's helping her. I think that they're saying that she will succeed in spite of them.
They're saying it's not that big of a deal, but Econoboy, you are changing your tune, my friend.
Have these guys? I'm curious if these guys feel like the right is falling apart over Epstein. Because in polling, that hasn't manifested at all.
Friend, because shortly after the election, you were making the case that polls were showing that a decent amount of people that sat out who otherwise would have voted Democrat, Gaza was a big deal to them. That's what you said shortly after the election.
Yeah,
you
but
you don't think the social media ecosystem had any part in that? Like nothing or little part?
Well, no. Well, first of all, the mainstream media covered this as a huge issue as well, and I mean there were major swaths of the Democratic Party that made that a priority. But we have to keep in mind, like when people
major swaths of the Democratic Party that made it a priority. Excuse me, a priority to just screech and scream that Israel should be destroyed, that it's a genocidal apartheid state, that Netanyahu and the entire cabinet should be arrested, and that the entire country should cease to exist in the way that it does now. What are you talking about? What?
Aggregately say that they have more sympathy in the Democratic Party for Palestinians than for the Israeli government at this point.
Saying you have more sympathy for the Palestinians, that's a meaningless statement. I don't have very much sympathy for Israelis. It's a first world, massively successful country that's built up a huge economy and a successful society on a fucking mound of trash on a dirt pile. Why the fuck? I feel more sympathy for the Palestinians than the fucking Israelis. That doesn't mean anything. That's a totally different question.
Then that's a spectrum view of people that like not everyone is as extreme as, you know, I don't know, like Hasan or Mike from PA on this issue. And, you know,
not everybody is extreme. Why? They should say, can you give me like one or two examples of mainstream left-wing figures that haven't outright called it a genocide? Because it's funny too, because that's where the conversation starts for lefties. A genocide. That's the start. That's the start. Is calling it a genocide. And then you can go from there. But keep in mind, like, where are you at? The whole point of using the word genocide, I've said this a million times, is not to have an actual factual analysis of what's going on. It's to bring in all the moral weight and condemnation of that word. Okay, well, if it is a genocide, well, now what's the next step? What do we do with genocidal states, right? What do we do with Japan? What do we do with Nazi Germany? What do you do with people that do genocides? Make peace with and negotiate with them so that they can happily carry on with their lives? Right?
But when you actually like talk to a lot of pro-Palestinian organizers, when it comes to their view about AOC, it's just not quite as extreme as, you know, your average like lefty Twitter account where.
Who are the ones leading this? What?
A lot of them will say, yeah, it's a really disappointing vote, but look, I mean, AOC is right on even on this issue, like 95%. People have a sensibility about these things. And then when it comes to like, that's only amongst people that really, really, really prioritize this issue. I mean, I would ask you to make a prediction, Hutch. Do you think AOC is not going to get reelected to her congressional seat?
Like, that's the standard? Is that really the standard? AOC is in a what did she win her? So as long as AOC is still getting elected, then no harm, no foul? This district is plus 64. This is a plus 64 district. No, wait, that was a Democratic primary. I'm sorry. My bad. Plus 43. This is a plus 40 blue district. Yeah, she's not going to lose her general election. What is the point? 2024, I should say. That can't possibly be the standard. That can't possibly be the standard.
Do you think she's going to get primary? Do you think that she's going to have like wall-to-wall protests at every single event she goes to? Do you think that she's going to all of a sudden fall the fuck off in the polling of these presidential 2028 hypotheticals?
Like if this is the case, I don't ever want to hear these guys talk about Nick Fuentes. I don't ever want to hear them talk about Kanye West. I don't ever want to hear them, because these guys are not commanding that much media attention or presence. If that's what we're saying, that the I guess the standard is, are you like getting sole candidates like ejected out of their seat or something? Like what?
Like I think
in 2028, if she hypothetically were to make a primary run for the president, they're gonna make her job harder.
Yes,
they're gonna hurt her in this.
I think they're gonna support her.
Okay.
But if they don't,
I will never understand.
If they don't, so 3 years from now, we'll worry about it then, right? Remember, where is the puck going? Not where is the puck now, or where was the puck 2 years ago?
I'll never understand. You guys support her. You want her to be successful. You see.
But we have to criticize our own side. We have to be able to criticize our own side.
Creators with massive audiences.
Say it.
This is not small beans.
Condemn Hasan condemning AOC over this.
You see all of them in unison throwing her under the bus right now, and your reaction is to not like.
Wait a second. Wait. So two separate things. Wait. Two separate things. There's one issue, and I want to see if you agree with me laying out. One issue is, do we agree with that criticism, and do we condemn that criticism?
This is a 400 comment post. Damn. This isn't even that active of a subreddit. AOC is a fraud. This seals it. What is she talking about? Cutting any percentage of aid is more pressure towards Israel to stop, no matter what the aid looks like. And even if you want to argue in the scope of just direct offensive or defensive aid, cutting aid would lower Israel's safety to commit war crimes belligerently. Her DNC handlers told her there's lines that she can't cross. Quote, we're going to keep giving billions to Israel, but we're going to attach a post-it note saying, please just use for Iron Dome, end quote. AOC, Palestine supporter. Cutting off the Iron Dome would lead to peace. How fucking retarded. Oh my God.
I want to answer the affirmative. I condemn that criticism. I support my queen AOC. So that's one issue. Do we support that? And do we condemn the people who are making those opinions? I condemn the people who are condemning AOC on the basis of the vote. I agree with your strategic analysis. I don't really give a fuck if she voted one way or the other. I think it's small potato. I don't think it matters. That's one issue. The separate issue is, do you think it will be a big deal and materially affect anything over the course of AOC's political career? The answer to that is no. And you're telling me I'm unhinged because I have the take that nothing ever happens? I'm unhinged for thinking this shit won't matter.
Like, this shit on its own will probably not matter that much, but it's not just this shit. It's the fact that AOC backstabbed us on Palestine, and then she backstabbed us on a 15-hour minimum wage, and then she backstabbed us by working with billionaires, and then she backstabbed us by not getting rid of super PACs on her, and then it's not just this, although even just this on it as an issue, it was actually kind of a big one for a lot of people, because it dominates and co-ops every single fucking leftist and progressive talking point. It has to become about fucking Gaza. Like, Palestine has become the transgender of foreign policy, to where every single conversation has to be solely about this issue.
And they'll forget about it in 2 weeks? That makes me unhinged, Hutch.
Forget about it in 2 weeks? We've talked about this for 2 years.
Right?
They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop attacking her. They're going to.
No, right, but that's
actively. They're going to actively work against her.
Hutch,
These people have massive audiences that
if Hutch was talking about a demonstrator or a couple protests, Hutch would be unhinged. Okay, it's like, okay, why are we focusing so much on this? Hutch is talking about collectively every single leftist fucking content creator, all of them, these are the largest figures in alternative media on the left.
If they actually mobilize their audiences in constructive way, they could make an electoral difference at the local level, state level.
Now that I agree. Now that I agree.
If you agree with me, then you should think it's a big deal that all of them right now.
Wait a minute. I think you're conflating two separate things. I totally agree with you, and I would be shocked if either Pisco or Econoboy disagreed. This idea that if Hutch was more if Hasan, for example, was more overtly pro Kamala Harris or whatever, alongside all the other big creators, could that have made a meaningful difference? I think yes.
I think maybe, yeah.
And certainly,
maybe if the entire left-wing media didn't fucking shit on the candidate so fucking hard, maybe it could make a slight difference. Maybe.
Trump, and you're not pissed at these people?
Well, wait a minute, but
I am pissed at stuff.
Saved us from Donald Trump, and you're like,
whoa, huge conflation, Hutch. So one thing is, on this specific issue, years away from an election, you're saying my nonchalance at this specific vote and criticism of specific content creators at this specific vote, years away from a presidential election, you're saying my
It's not just that. Why are we pretending like this has only come up now? You know that people have confronted AOC like multiple times over the genocide, right? Confronts AOC Israel. I remember watching her. She was like in a stairwell or something, walking. This has happened. This was a year ago. Like this is. I've seen this happen to Bernie Sanders.
You refuse to call it a genocide. I need you to understand. It's not okay that there's a genocide happening. You're not actively against it. You're lying. I'm lying. You're not. You're not TV on what you're talking about.
Oh, the stairs. This is what I was thinking further.
It's not. You can't say it's genocide. You're acting legal ways. You can't call it a genocide. How do you say that? We're not lying. We're not lying. You said it in interviews. It's insane. You haven't been calling it a genocide. Don't tell me I'm lying. Then just say it's a genocide. Just say it. Over 30,000 people are dead.
Like this happened a few days ago, right? Or was it yesterday? AOC's campaign office vandalized with anti-Israel message. Her office says she's faced multiple threats on her life in recent days. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has received death threats in recent days and had a campaign office vandalized with a message criticizing her for supporting Israel's war in Gaza, the campaign manager for the New York Congresswoman said Monday. Remember, okay? 2 Jewish people literally got fucking murdered coming out of an embassy by a guy talking about Palestine. The shooting has sparked outrage and has been condemned as an unspeakable act of anti-Semitism after officials said the suspect, who is in custody, shouted, "Free, free Palestine," following the shooting. Like, if any of this was happening on the right, these guys would be incensed. These guys would be losing it. You have far left content creators, the largest left-wing content creators that are echoing a message that is being, or that are starting a message or like resonating with a message that's also going to the entire left-wing protest apparatus. It's going out to all the demonstrators. It's going out to all the social media. And then this guy has said the same thing while murdering 2 Jewish people. And it's like, well, you're telling me that this matters that much? If this was a right-wing thing, it would be such a different conversation. Holy shit.
Nonchalance at that necessarily I'm nonchalant about Hasan with respect to the presidential election.
Sorry, buddy.
Hasan with respect to the presidential election months before the election. How on earth are you going to justify that massive conflation?
Because it's not just this.
Yes.
Your instinct is to always be like, yeah, but that's
it's just one thing. It's just this one thing. It's not a big deal. It's just this one thing this one time. It's not a huge deal, right?
Like the lefties on social media. Bro, they have collective millions of people in their audience. Millions. They could be doing so much more.
Also, Hutch is even saying something even more right here. This is one thing I give. If you have like toxic relationships or toxic friendships, I think one indicator that you should probably like ditch a relationship or ditch a friendship is if this is like a neutral point in your relationship and this is like a good relationship and this is like a bad relationship. If you find yourself stuck in some loop where you are constantly fighting to go from shit to barely neutral, like sometimes people view this as kind of a victory. Like, okay, well, we got over this fight. We got over this thing. We figured out that issue, I guess. And then there's like another fight. And it's like, and you're in this cycle. Don't think about it as though if I try really hard, maybe I can be neutral in this relationship. Instead, you should think about what if instead of like just wasting all my time on this bullshit, what if I was just putting time into something more positive? So instead of like fighting so hard to get these relationships to neutral, I was like fighting hard to get like a positive relationship, right? Don't imagine a world where lefties aren't shitting on AOC or aren't shitting on Democratic candidates. Imagine a world where lefties are shitting on the right wing instead, where we had all of Antifa that was against Trump, where we have a whole bunch of people mobilized against Trump because of the Israel genocide or whatever, right? Like, wouldn't that be a much, 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 much better world?
To help us like stop fascism. And every time I bring it up, you guys are like, oh, here Hutch goes again.
So I critiqued heavily. I critiqued heavily. And oh, by the way, Ogre Boy, I don't know. I think he might be in my Twitch, actually. Do you want me to ban him?
No, it's fine, it's fine.
So I critiqued massively people who said, don't vote for Kamala, sit out the vote, the pro-Palestinian people. You see me on my Twitter having Twitter wars with these people. I think they're fucking, shitty opinions, stupid. I've confronted fun of them on stream and me being nonchalant about, okay, yeah, this isn't going to matter. I don't really think it's going to have a material effect. It's not to lessen the condemnation. Fuck Hasan. I just want to say it one more time. Fuck Hasan Piker. I hate what he stands for. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, Hasan. You want this virtue signal for me. You want this virtue signal for me. You want me to virtue signal and be like, these people. Them. They didn't vote for Biden. They didn't vote for Kamala. I disavow. All I'm saying is you're crazy if you think it's going to have a material effect. It's not going to have a material effect. Now, if you're saying
nothing, the entire unification of the online left-wing media, like, also remember, this is a big difference too. And I don't even think Pisco actually believes this. I think he's just like in debate mode right now, or he's lying to himself, which would be the worst thing. Maybe he's lying on the platform. I can't tell. But like, the difference is like the left, I don't even know. No, I can't even finish the thought because it doesn't make sense. There's no way that he actually believes this. I was going to say the difference is like the left wing will be like, oh, like it doesn't matter, or it's not our job to educate people, or who cares about any of this shit. And then meanwhile, Charlie Kirk is like, I visited 300 college campuses last year in order to recruit people to Turning Point USA. And also I, have a phone call with Donald Trump every 2 weeks so that we can coordinate strategy because I do think it matters, right? Like the difference is just so unbelievable.
If what you're saying is the purity testing in general, speaks to a broader pattern, a character that is, apt to make them act a certain way, then yeah, that pattern is going to be problematic in the years to come, no doubt. But this particular manifestation,
in the years to come, he needs those Dearborn voting numbers, dude.
Of it, it's not going to fucking matter, bro. It's just they're going to forget about it.
It is not just Hasan, and we should stop looking at this particular thing in a vacuum. This is a systemic problem with that entire.
That's been happening for years.
Higher media ecosystem. Do you understand that?
So Bad and Panada, Hasan. Let's name names. Hasan.
Pull up the
Bad
tweet.
And Panada.
Pull it up. Which tweet?
The AOC tweet where she talked about her vote yesterday.
Okay,
Let's take a look at the replies and we'll see what we see.
Hutch, I feel like one point that you haven't really responded to is the idea that AOC literally made like this exact same vote like a year and a half ago.
Years ago, yes.
They didn't attack her like this. I don't know what to tell you. They did.
They did. Wait. The DSA, the National DSA officially unendorsed and removed her from their slate of candidates because of this exact vote that Econoboy is referencing.
Was it AOC's official account or was it her press the AOC updates thing?
I think
let me show.
Just imagine this through line for anything else, right? Imagine we come up to, it's 1 month before an election. It's like, okay, guys, you know what? Hutch had a point. It's a problem. What are we going to do now about this? What are we going to do? All right, guys, maybe it is a problem. What are we going to do now? Well, now you're fucked because now we're way too late to fucking do anything about this. Testing 1 2. All right, what should we look on this? I don't even know what this guy's positions are on things. I think I've seen him on Piers a few times now. This is timestamp for how the far right recruits veterans and kids to join the movement. If you want to watch later on.
I was a horizontal light combat engineer.
Daily Wire. Wait, what the fuck is this? DW documentary? Does that stand for Daily Wire? I think it is, right?
Spoiler alert, you're going to see every major leftist content creator.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Scroll down and see what you see.
All right, so let's see. Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel nor end the flow of U.S. munitions being used in Gaza. Of course, I voted against it. What it does do is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities while allowing the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. I've long stated I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to its end. That is a simple and clear difference of opinion that's long been established. I remain focused. Francesca Fiorentini, you knew it wasn't going to pass, so why not take a stand against military aid to Israel, even if sponsored by Green? Your progressive colleagues, far more vulnerable than you, stood on business against genocide. You got to buck the liberal Zionist lobbyists in your ear.
You don't need to read all the words. Just scroll down. They're all in there, bro.
Well, I'm curious with this one.
Kyle
says this is pathetic.
Ratioed her. Kyle Kulinski, one of the most prominent voices in this space, ratioed her and called her pathetic.
Yep.
And you guys don't think that this is going to make her job more difficult down the line if she wants to make a run at the presidency.
Wait. Did he call her pathetic or did he say that this is pathetic?
Says, oh my God. That can't possibly be like most people are reading it that way. Seriously?
right here. This is pathetic. This
Are
is
we
pathetic.
being a bit pedantic?
Hutch, wait, no, we're not. Wait. We're
she
not.
called her action pathetic.
So when I say that Biden was pathetic when he did X, doesn't mean that I call Biden pathetic. Now, by the way, I do call Biden pathetic, but that's just separate. But like, if they're not necessarily the same thing. I've seen Kyle Kalinske criticize people.
Where were we? Oh, we're getting triggered over here.
Matters. It doesn't necessarily extend beyond that. So, I want to be clear about something. I don't think that this is like needed criticism. The lefties are going to continue to support her. If she would be on like in a panel between her, Gavin Newsom, fucking Governor Shapiro, who do you think they're going to vote for? Who do you think they're going to vote for? They're going to vote for AOC.
Yeah, so SDL says this is wrong. Jenk says, I know why you voted for it, but just saying Israel needs defensive doesn't address the question why we pay for it, why do we owe them anything?
They're all making videos about it. They see one person do it, and then they all feel like they have to do it. You know what I mean? Because if
how
they
hard?
don't
Can I ask you something? How hard are they going in their videos?
They're going hard. They are savaging her right now, bro. And they're going to do the same thing to Mamdani at a certain point. I promise you, it's going to happen.
But Hutch, again, I think that there's kind of two things being said here, but these views are ultimately compatible. Look, I think that it's true that she's getting a heap of shit from a heap of leftist creators online, but that's totally compatible with the idea that, look, at the end of the day, I don't think that this represents like a significant setback to AOC's political journey or political career.
Your instinct is to always minimize this shit.
No.
All of you guys, all three of you. I'm so resolved in this. It's not even funny.
No, like, but your instinct to maximize.
Whenever I bring it up, you guys are always prone to be like, "It's not that big of a deal, bro. It's not that big of a deal."
No.
You
Hutch,
never want to fucking call it what it is.
Hutch,
these people are toxic.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Hutch, they can be toxic, and they can, like you said, they can make her life a bit harder, but that doesn't mean that they are a significant needle mover in left-wing spaces in actually existing. Hutch, you're not even disagree. Do you disagree with anything I just fucking said?
Do you disagree with what he said?
Yes, I completely reject this.
Which part?
Completely reject this notion that these guys don't have an influence in electoral politics.
That's
You're
not
wrong.
what we're saying, Hutch.
Yes,
we're not saying that. No, I'm not, Hutch. You can have an influence.
You're saying they don't move the needle that much. That's what you're saying.
They don't. There's no evidence that they move. Hutch, there's no evidence.
He needs the Dearborn voters.
That they move the needle that much when it comes to at least like progressive people like AOC. Like, again, I would agree that, look, this is going to be a bitch every time when she goes and gets interviewed by Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball. This is going to be a question that gets brought up. It's going to be a criticism of her. People are going to like, oh my goodness, fuck AOC. I'm going to vote for Jill Stein for the 14th time in a row. And that's going to fucking amount to something this time. Like, yeah, that's going to happen, Hutch. But obviously there's a difference between saying that, yeah, a margin of people are going to be upset about this and going to be moved away from her. But to your point, you agree that this isn't aggregately going to hurt AOC because you think this was the politically correct thing for her to do.
No. I didn't tell you that I think that maybe she's not going to win like her next re-election in the House. I said it is going to make her job more difficult in the future if she aspires to higher office. If she wants higher office.
Does it make her hold on, Hutch. Does it make her job 1% more difficult or like twice as difficult?
There's no way that we can quantify this. Hold on. Let's establish a couple things. Do we agree that we're talking about just a couple things? I'll be concise. Do we agree that their collective reach, all of these creators, is millions of people?
Yes.
In the United States.
Yes.
Do we agree that the 2016 presidential election was decided by 40,000 fucking votes across 3 states? Do we agree that the 2020 election was decided by 80,000 across 3 states?
Yes.
Do we agree that the 2024 election was decided by roughly 120,000 across 3 states?
I think it's a little more than that, but yes.
I thought it was like 250,000.
Yeah, I think it's 200.
No, I thought it was. You might be right about that.
But whatever, hundreds of thousands.
The point is, all of these elections have been close, and they have millions of people in their audience, and I can't get you guys to acknowledge how potentially damaging they have been consistently over the years.
This is why, because so I want to just be clear about something. It's my prior, and you might disagree with this, Hutch, and this might be where we disagree. It's my belief that the left did not abandon Kamala in 2024. That the left, by and large, stood by Kamala.
The left, by and large, he's talking about the entire Democratic Party, though. Hutch is not criticizing the entire Democratic Party. He's talking about a hyper-radicalized group of anti-Semites that have co-opted the entire alternative left media apparatus, who are probably driving a decent number of certain cohorts of people away from voting, not the entire left.
And walked to go vote for Kamala Harris. And so given that, the left did not, on average, overall, abandon Kamala. Given that, overall, the left got the message. They grumbled, but they walked their ass to the polls, and they voted for the lesser of two evils.
Like, this didn't happen. It doesn't seem like it.
They got that message. The left, by and large, did. Not everyone, and I condemn the individuals who did it. And certainly maybe enthusiasm played some role, but I don't have evidence that the left cost Kamala the election. So why do I think that there's evidence that materially they're going to cost AOC some kind of election in the future, some hypothetical election? I just don't see them as having that swayability for the left.
I just told you, in a national election where there's 150 million people voting and it's decided by 40,000 votes, and you don't even want to entertain the notion that maybe
that we've not min-maxed lefty support for Kamala Harris,
no.
which could be outcome determinative.
They actively went against.
But
the
I think
party.
But Hutch, we can agree with all that. Again, these are compatible. Like, for instance, what you brought up earlier, and I thought it was probably the best one.
Like the DNC was even protested by the, oh God, what was the name of the movement? It was one of the Palestinian movements. Somebody name it. What was it called? Hasan was out there with them literally before going in. Oh, the uncommitted movement.
Point that you made was the idea that there's evidence to suggest that probably 2 or 3 million people who voted for Biden decided not to vote because of essentially Israel and Palestine was their number one issue. And this seemed to be a group of overwhelmingly progressive people because they said that they would have rather voted for somebody like Sean Fain or AOC or something for president. But I think that's in part one of the big reasons why I say even that criticism I don't think is very good, because I don't think that AOC can plausibly be framed to this group of people as someone who's a soft pussy on Israel Palestine. This is somebody who says, look, Israel's committing a genocide. Netanyahu's a war criminal. She'd probably commit to
we would
not allowing.
All,
she'd probably commit to
That doesn't matter though. These people don't want just that. These people want the abolition of Israel as a state. That's the starting point.
You're making my point for me. She has this strong position on Israel-Palestine, and it's not enough for these fucking lunatics.
But
we agree with that.
We agree that it's not enough for online leftist content creators, right? So I would agree with that. But I don't think that in the course of a long campaign, and to just who even knows she's going to run for president, but nonetheless, let's just assume that she is. During the course of the long-term campaign that she's going to be a part of, I don't think that you can plausibly represent to these people that AOC's history is particularly weak on Israel-Palestine when she has all of these consistent statements that she's made over time. And like you said, she voted against the bill in the first place. She says she wants to strip offensive aid to Israel. I think for a lot of these uncommitted people, these actually existing voters that decided not to vote for Kamala Harris, to Pisco's point, they overwhelmingly decided to vote for her. But for the ones that didn't, it's not clear to me that there's much evidence to suggest that this would make the difference between them.
Imagine if all of these people instead were every day covering the conservatives and shitting on insane and unhinged shit that the Trump admin was doing. Imagine the difference.
Not voting or voting for AOC. I think they would overwhelmingly vote for AOC at higher margins than Kamala.
Well,
it just seems
to
like
Hutch's point, let me ask you this. To Hutch's point.
Oh, am I going to get some backup? Holy shit.
I think what Hutch is saying is, I don't think Hutch would dispute the fact that the left by and large supported Kamala. That'd be a really dumb point, right? Hutch, you agree? Okay. The left by and large.
Broadly, the left.
Right. So I think what he's saying is he feels that there can be some juice that we can squeeze out of that coalition a bit more that would be outcome determinative in close elections.
The opportunity cost.
What?
The opportunity cost, not just what you lost, but what you could have gained. Is that what you're saying?
Right. That we've not min-maxed that coalition out, and if these leftist content creators would be a bit more reasonable or a bit more temperate in their criticism of AOC, that we could probably get those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of votes theoretically to make the difference. Do you disagree with that? That we have not reached our ceiling for optimal.
Of course not. Yeah, I mean, of course, if every progressive content creator played perfect ball and was willing to be more pragmatic and think about these things a little bit more long term and sensibly, we would have better net electoral outcomes. But I think that too. But I don't think that I've ever said anything differently. I mean, obviously that's true. Hutch.
I'm sure Pisco would agree. But hang on.
Here's the rub, though. Here's the rub, though, Hutch. By that logic, you're going to be hoisted by your own petard, because now we have to moderate our criticism in vision of the optimal strategy. And so for us, if we're going to apply this lens, is the best thing for building a coalition that protects AOC and protects a candidate to attack all these creators, or in our wildest dreams convince them? So now I think, Hutch, if we're going to apply this lens, is the best strategy for us under this theory, right, which is where we're just reacting for pure outcome determined nature,
is he about to say, should we not be covering the negative coverage because that's the actual bad thing? No.
The best strategy for us to attack all these creators and burn our bridges with them. Yep.
Oh my God, dude. It's actually the most cucked position. This might be of all the positions you could take, that might be the worst one of all of them. You've identified the worst possible position.
If we're going to apply this lens, is the best strategy for us under this theory, right, which is where we're just reacting for pure outcome determined nature, is the best strategy for us to attack all these creators and burn our bridges with them? Yes or no?
At this point, I feel like, yeah. At this point, yeah.
Holy fucking based. Holy shit. Because it's either you follow Hutch here and you say, we have to have a positive standard that can build the party, right? Or the Pisco line of thought is, even if these people want to destroy the party, isn't it better if there's at least more of us, right? This unwillingness, this is one of the strengths of the conservative movement. The conservative movement like people say like, oh, the right doesn't purity test, the left does. The right does purity test. The purity test on voting for Trump. The conservative movement has no problem cutting you out, primarying you, excising you from the fucking party. Even if you were fucking MAGA #1, okay? My mom would have fucked Kevin McCarthy before that whole House vote fiasco. And now he's like persona non grata. All MAGA fucking hates him, right? The conservatives have no problem drawing these lines in the sand. Like, oh, you don't want to vote for Trump? That's cool. Yeah, it's on site, by the way, if I see you. Taking your head off, motherfucker. Not voting for Trump? You're not welcome in this household. And then on the left, it's like, well, if these people want to protest and shit on all of our fucking candidates and not even tell you to vote for Kamala, but like, shouldn't we like be trying to build a bridge with them? No! Definitionally not. No, you don't want these people. They shouldn't have any say whatsoever. It would be healthier for the media environment. It would be healthier to say there is a right-wing media apparatus, there is a socialist media apparatus, and then you have your center-left or your left-wing media apparatus. We can't even say left or lefty or leftist. Those words have been co-opted by tankies. I shouldn't have to go on a fucking podcast and say, hey, what's up? Oh, okay, I'm Destiny. Hold on. I don't believe in trans 4-year-olds. I don't believe in the destruction of fucking Israel as a state. I don't believe that capitalism is evil and every single billionaire should be dragged to the streets and murdered and raped and all landlords. Okay, now that we got all that out of the way, let's have a conversation. Like this bullshit.
Ooh, attack all these creators and burn our bridges with them. Yes or no?
At this point, I feel like, yeah. At this point, yeah.
So you think that?
Yeah. I can't speak for you guys.
How does that follow?
You don't need to burn bridges, right? Like I'm not saying you need to like personally attack these people or call them names or whatever, but certainly attack these arguments. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but hang on. I'm attacking these arguments. I attack those arguments. But like, if your point is they need to calibrate themselves to be electoral maximizers, then so do we, right? And if we do that, then we need to be a little calibrated as well, don't we?
But that's not, you don't electorally maximize by drawing unions with people that don't support you electorally. That's crazy. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine a conservative?
No. Did I forget the president? No, I did not forget the president. I voted for the president. I'm just not telling you who I voted for. I am not going to influence your opinion in any direction unless it is to vote por Trump, in which case I will tell you not to do it. Anyway. What? I'm shaking and crying right now. It's disgusting that you're calling him by that last name. You should be
like, what Republican influencer would ever, this is insane. These are the people, you can't even tell somebody to vote for the Democratic Party. We're at deporting people to Sikot. We're at the worst position we could possibly be in with Israel-Palestine. We're at the most corrupt DOJ we've ever had, probably. Like, it's just insane. That's just insane to me. That like, no, these are the people that we desperately have to try to appeal to.
Themselves to be electoral maximizers, then so do we, right? And if we do that, then we need to be a little calibrated as well, don't we?
Yeah, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I would sure. Yeah, but wait, there's all kinds of considerations here. Like, I'm down with having like a complex kind of like nuanced sort of like approach to this kind of thing. But I guess like what I'm confused about is like I get you guys to concede that these are incredibly close elections, and we already know that the stakes are insanely high. And I just want to like address something you said. It sounded like you were saying like, I want these people to never criticize AOC, but that's not what I'm saying. Like, it depends on how you criticize them and if the critique is actually based in any kind of like pragmatic or realistic or any kind of sense in that manner. Like this is just a stupid critique. It's a dumb critique.
And if you read what they're saying, again, we can go back to the critique. I don't agree with it. So you're shadowboxing me, right? So like, I don't agree with this critique of AOC. I defend my queen AOC, against all these people every day. So we don't actually need to have that conversation again about your argument, which I accept. Just like the Manchin thing, right? I accept the Manchin argument. But like, why spend time? If we agree on something, right? Like on the Manchin thing, why spend time on it? Like we agree. Like I agree on that. Like I agree on your pragmatic argument.
In this case, your instinct was to minimize. It's not that big of a deal. You're getting worked up. You're getting worked up over these lefties again. Is what you guys tell me. That's what you guys tell me, right?
Well, actually, you started this fight with us. You picked this fight with us.
I can explain why.
I'm just expressing my opinions. That's what's going on here. Why would you shake your head no? That's what you do tell me week after week. Here's Hutch getting triggered by the lefties again. You do say that.
No, Hutch, you could whatever you wanted. I don't think I've ever said that. I mean, maybe Pisco, but
I might have said that.
What I've said though is I'm making a very descriptive claim, right? Now you can disagree with the empirics, right? But I'm just saying that look, to the extent that I'm like minimizing it, right? I think that it's just like fully appropriate to minimize it because I don't think that this will actually,
Well, Luminar, thanks for giving the subs in Kick Chat, buddy.
Create like a very, very large headache for AOC in the long term. And
they threw fake blood outside of her office and called her a genocide supporter.
We condemn it.
No, but I'm just saying there are very real consequences to this shit.
Hutch, there were people during Mamdani's election who showed up to his events and said, fuck you for accepting AOC's endorsement. She's a genocide supporter. She supports the Iron Dome. This was literally equipped during Mamdani's campaign. And people like that existed during Mamdani's election. People like that existed when AOC ran for re-election in 2024. People like that existed when Bernie's
progressives win elections. Therefore, this is not that big of a deal. What is this logic?
No. Hutch, what the fuck? Obviously, look, Hutch, I'm not saying this might not make, 0.5% difference or something like that. I'm just saying that I don't think that it's going to be like a huge broad, like, AOC's political career is going to be like substantially cut back by this.
Why are we just talking about only AOC's career? Like, that's not the only thing that fucking matters. Read their chat on screen. It's unhinged. No kings, but Queen AOC is fine. Shake my head. Condemn it harder, dumbass. This shit makes me tired.
It's like, that's all I'm saying. And I think that's actually pretty.
But they're bad, though. Thanks. Because the whole audience is probably lefties. This is what happens, by the way. When I fight with my audience, I'm the only content creator on the fucking internet that does this, apparently, which is fine. I don't give a fuck. I'll have a smaller audience for it, okay? I'm the only one who doesn't play this stupid fucking game of, like, if I criticize a certain side, I know that I'm going to pick up people that are way on the other side of me. And every now and then, we will have an ethnic cleansing of those people. And I will tweet unhinged stuff. I will drop some N-bombs, the bad ones, okay? And I'll do whatever I need to do to set the record straight so that people know, hey, by the way, I've been shitting on these people a lot, and if you've joined me, that's cool, but if you're a part of those people, just know, I don't fucking like you either, motherfucker, okay? And it's good to do that, I think, because it shows people where I stand, and hopefully my community is a little bit, hopefully tighter, the Taliban tribe or whatever, but like, you can tell, I haven't even been watching the chat. I bet this chat is like probably 50% of you polled them. I bet they're 50% socialists. Also, I think I said this in the past with like 60% conviction. I say this with 90% conviction now. Socialists, you should treat them as Nazis. They are just as cancerous and toxic for liberalism as Nazis are. You should treat them the same way. These people are not your friend. They're not your ally. They don't advocate for a form of government that would tolerate you. They would just as easily co-opt your liberal systems to enslave and murder you and your family or whatever, given the opportunity to. It's what they've done historically, and it's what they, in coded speech, talk about going forward. Like, you shouldn't tolerate these types of people if you care about liberalism broadly. If you are a socialist, well, fucking God bless you, obviously these are your friends. But if you're not, like, it's just it's kind of weird to have a podcast called Lib and Learn if your audience is like half socialist, but maybe they're not. I don't know. Are socialists and communists different? No. What about Dem socks that advocate for democratic reform to get to socialism? As long as we're okay with like not socks, like Nazi socialists or whatever, I guess, that are national socialists. No, that's cringe and bullshit. All of it ends up as like fucking coded language anyway. How many sock dems and dem socks have gone on to just basically become fucking tankies, right? Fuck all that shit.
It's a pretty fair read of these things, if you ask me.
But you just conceded that.
Oh, this guy said, you guys keep defending it by what happens in lower consequence elections. I mean, just nod and say, I can see where you're coming from, but no, they wanted a box. He was running against Andrew Cuomo, dude. Hutch is a Trump supporter. He would rather have fascists than progressives. That F word, fascist, is a huge indicator sometimes that you're talking to socialists, because when they say fascist, what they mean is all liberal, anybody that's not a socialist is what they mean.
That these are close elections. So even if it did move the needle point.
Oh, here's one, a lib guy. Any of them say shit about the Druze getting genocided this weekend by 150,000 Arab Muslims? Uh-oh.
%. That could be outcome determinative. So in my mind, it should not just like.
This is a vicious fight in the chat. Oh, man.
You shouldn't just have this instinct to be like, wow, that's just them being.
But isn't burning the bridge? Isn't pissing them
off that they do this? It should piss you off because you like this candidate and you want to see her succeed.
Yeah,
that's why I'm like, why aren't you angry that this happens?
So I can
respond or is that?
So I was gonna say, so I do get pissed when online content creators, including the Vanguard or whoever it is, from Brown and Joy Gray to the Vanguard, indicate that they're not going to, when push comes to shove between themselves or between a Democrat and a Republican, back to Democrat. That is really frustrating. It does piss me off. Of course, it pisses me off. But for me personally, because they are the more proximate teammate, I keep my focus on the right. And I think the next part of the conversation, which we don't have time to get into,
they don't view you that way, though, little bro. Like, do these people not understand that? You're not on their team. You're like an obstacle to be overcome. You are a group to be converted, or you're ultimately people to be subjugated and destroyed. Like, they don't view you like socialists, like hard lefties do not view you as allies. You're an obstacle who needs to win their vote, which means exclusively supporting other socialist candidates.
because we got to, I've got to hard out in 15 minutes, and maybe this is for the next time we discuss and Live and Learn, is what do you think is the optimal use of time here? Because, the
optimal use of time is if you call yourself on the left, you should support the left fucking candidate. If you can't have that, then what the fuck then you should all just be independents. Don't call yourselves liberals. If we can't unify around a political party, then you're not doing politics. Then rename the show to something else, or rename your job or whatever you want to do. Like welcome to the Virtue Signal Club, or welcome to the social group, or welcome to the activist society. Activism and all that, by the way. I'm trying to throw it under the bus. Activism and social clubs and groups and all these things are important, but it's not politics. Don't pretend that it is, because you're confusing people that are actually trying to do politics.
Should you dedicate your entire time? Should we dedicate our entire times to critiquing the left? Or are you failing?
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm asking you, right? Because I think part of your frustration is you don't think...
It's crazy that, we're saying, well, as liberals, shouldn't we be a little bit more willing to accept socialists who are definitionally illiberal and opposed to liberal? Shouldn't we be, willing to accept them in our movement? Meanwhile, socialists are are 80% of liberals fascists? Or is it actually 100% of liberals that are fascists?
We openly criticize the left enough, the dissident left, Francesca Fiorentini and Kyle and the Vanguard when they oppose Democrats. I would be curious what you think the optimal time share of that would be.
I can give you a percentage of time.
Well, I understand, but I'm not asking you for a specific percentage, but what sort of things would you like to look at? And also, is your own approach open to critique? Because if you're out here slugging with these people, calling them stupid or whatever, are you actually persuading them, or are you causing them to double down?
You need me in that mud.
This is the most brain rot fucking argument I've ever heard in my life. This is like some guy punches you 5 times and you're like, I'm tired of getting beat up, and then you punch him back and well, aren't you just contributing then to the violence? I noticed that you said you didn't really like fighting all the time, and I just saw you swing back. So aren't you kind of doing the exact same thing that other guy's doing? Aren't you really engaged in the exact same type of behavior that you criticize? Ooh, sorry, bro. Looks like you just lost your moral high ground because you just did the exact same thing that guy's doing. So looks like you really can't complain about fucking anything anymore. Sorry, bro. Looks like you just destroyed your whole fucking argument.
Well, wait a minute.
You need me in that mud. Somebody's got to do it.
No. Maybe you can make the case. Wait a minute. Maybe you can make the case that somebody. Maybe you can make the case that somebody needs to be critiquing these arguments. But is your approach optimal? Are you too combative? Are you too are you blocking? Is it bad to block?
And then again, this is it's a misunderstanding in magnitude as well. Is Hutch being too combative? If AOC had her tweet and then Kyle Kalinske tweeted out, I saw AOC's position on this, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I wish that we could take a more strong stance on Israel. I hope that if we have more power in Congress going forward, that we can do something to curb the amount of aid that we send them, as long as they engage. If it was something like that, okay, fine, yeah. If Hutch was having this response, I'd be okay, Hutch, chill, bro. You can criticize your own party sometimes. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, all right? But when the tweets are this is pathetic, and she's a genocide supporter, Israel, she's supporting the genocide, she won't even take a strong stance against Israel, 500 million Palestinian children have been killed, and it's and you're hey, you guys are not helping, and it's you're saying they're not helping? Aren't you not helping by saying they're not helping though? You're saying they're complaining, aren't you complaining now by complaining about their complaint? Oh, well, fuck me, I guess.
Block people like Ogre Boy instead of having persistent conversations with him and try to
fuck Ogre Boy. I don't want him in the coalition.
Right.
Do your own party. Do your own thing.
But isn't that stuff?
Why does socialism and the left get wrapped together if you feel so strongly against it? Genuinely curious. I don't know what happened, but for a long time, okay, the left tries to call the right Nazis, and what does the right do? Who knows? What does the right do about the term Nazi? Who's followed any politics in America for the last 30 fucking years? What do they do? People are saying they become Nazis, but that's not true. Mr. Comment got it. They redefined Nazi to mean leftist. Nazis? That's not us. Excuse me. Nazi actually means National Socialist. So Nazi's actually left-wing. We can't possibly be Nazis because Nazi's a left-wing ideology. It can't possibly be. Hitler was a leftist. They call it National Socialist, right? And then for 30 years, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Michael Savage, George, all the neocons, all these people have been calling leftists and left-leaning people socialists, and now they're oh, maybe we are socialists actually. LOL, LOLXD, and now a lot of them have become actual ML tankies. A lot of them, the younger activist community, right? So when people tried to brand the right with this Nazi label, they literally for fucking decades are well, actually Nazis are leftists. That can't be us. And then when it happens to the left, okay, fine, we'll be this. We'll take this label on. And now there's people on the left don't even know what the fuck socialism means. So half of them are preying on the stupidity of other liberals who call themselves sock dems. And it's oh yeah, you're a sock dem because you like social health care. That has nothing to do with socialism. And then the right will will be like, actually, you guys are socialists because you like social health care. It's like, no, it's not. Excuse me. We spent the whole time under Obama fighting this label of socialism. Just because we support, like a public option or a single payer system or high minimum wage has nothing to do with fucking socialism or seizing the means of production. And we fought against that for a long time. But now they were like, yeah, actually, yeah, these are the first steps to socialism. Then we could be socialists. Like, what?
Optimal? Isn't that suboptimal that you're shutting down?
Because you're giving them good faith, bro. Overboard's not good faith. Why are you doing this? Why are you saying like, oh, he's persuadable? He gets off on this fucking shit.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, he's not.
So I'm confused.
Like,
what do you think? So you think that shitting on these content creators will convince their audience to vote to back you?
At the very least, we can eject them from the movement and build our own movement, right? What these guys are suggesting is the equivalent of a 160-pound guy having to box somebody who's 200 pounds in 6 months, and he needs to gain 40 pounds, and he's like, okay, putting on that much mass and eating even fat, maybe it's going to be difficult. I'm going to get cancer, and holy shit, let's go, boys. And it's like, hold on, is getting cancer really like the best way to do this? Like, what? I need to get mass. I gotta grow, boy. I need to get some fucking weight on me. And it's like, is cancer really the best way to do it, though? Right? The socialists are literally a fucking cancer in your party. They are an absolute cancer. And the idea that we need to keep all of that cancer here to have a bigger body, it doesn't make any sense. Nobody on what is the conservative equivalent to this? What is the Republican equivalent to this? We can't excise. They cut off like some of their most loyal fucking people. You're McCarthy's. I feel like nobody remembers how much of a fucking Trump dick suck this McCarthy guy was. Am I crazy? And I'm sure there are other names too. I can't think of off the top of my head, but there are other people too who are like fucking the MAGA movement, the MAGA cause, who get kicked out because they're not loyal to the party anymore.
So if I like Hasan and you come in and act like a
I get emails all the time about this. I'm just telling you, like behind the scenes, I get more emails now saying thank you for like pulling me out of that thing than
I also get emails like this, and it's hard to say who's what and how many are represented, whatever. But like I do get and Instagram DMs for people who are like, hey, I have a whole bunch of conservative coworkers and I feel fucking insane. And then when I turn on like socialist shit and it seems like everybody downplays everything, I feel insane. And sometimes I feel like hearing you scream at people actually makes me feel good because I feel like a little bit more sane. Or it feels like there is a center left voice, or there's a center left people out there, okay? They just need you to stand a little bit taller on business. And standing tall on business doesn't mean making a whole bunch of concessions to a bunch of fucking loser socialist fucks who would rather see your party burn to the fucking ground than support somebody that they don't have 100% ideological alignment with.
I ever did with MAGA. That's just my personal experience. And I just want to rewind the clock a second ago, because you said like the Vanguard are what did you say? We're in close proximity to them, and
they're more proximate ally than right.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's true. Like, imagine saying that the people who wouldn't even support the candidate for president are your close allies? That's crazy. That's wild. That's insanity. That's crazy. What?
Dog. Do you guys understand? When they came on our podcast last week, they accused the Democratic Party of being a rotating villain who secretly don't want to do anything for voters.
We pushed on them. They voted for
how are these people like allies when they're telling their audience?
You're not hearing. This is where you're not hearing what I'm saying. I said that they are more proximate allies than the right, and they are. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, and you're fucking wrong about this. I'm right, and you're wrong. You will never, ever be able to refute it. It is a perfect position. The Vanguard are more likely. Shut the fuck up. The Vanguard are more likely to vote. The Vanguard. Are you serious?
Like, the actual argument here is the Vanguard would be better for us if they were on the right. That's the reality. They can go and join the pool of 500 million other right-leaning content creators, and then if you're a center-left person on the left, then you go and listen to somebody else that might actually push you to voting for a Democrat. That's more fruitful than people that are occupying your fucking space, okay? That are occupying your space. If you wanted to give a presentation on Black history in America, and you only had 5 people at a school to do a Black history presentation, and one of those people was fucking Candace Owens, I'm not Black, but my guess is they would say, we would rather just have 4 people doing the presentation. Candace Owens can go and do the White History Month crowd, and we'll just do it as 4 Black content creators. We don't need her. Thank you. That's fine. Thank you. Are some Black people probably going to leave this? That's fine. They can go over there with the other people. We don't need to have an alliance, a bridge with her, just because she looks like us. Much the same that you don't need an alliance with people that don't support the fucking party, just because sometimes they call themselves liberal or liberal adjacent.
Who voted for the Democrats in the last election, Hutch?
I am making.
Again, I win, you lose, because Rob Moore voted for Trump and the Vanguard voted for Kamala.
Did the Vanguard guys say they voted for Kamala? I thought they were indifferent or mixed-ish on this. I don't remember. If they voted for her, I mean, that's better than not, I guess. But even so, this reluctant support of the candidate is also, they did say that, that's good at least. The reluctant support for the candidate isn't good enough either, though. It has to be support. You can't feel like you're a cringe lord supporting the fucking candidate. But if they did vote for her, that's at least better than I thought it was.
fucking vindicated my point.
Josiah, I think we misheard. Josiah, we misheard. Hutch, I know that you didn't say, and you didn't say that Rob Noor's a better ally than you,
I'm not being serious.
Yes.
I'm saying that Rob Noor is closer because
he did say it. He did.
No, I'm not being serious. I'm saying like because he's been willing to like criticize him on the Epstein stuff or whatever. He's like closer to me than like MAGA. You know what I mean? But do you understand the problem of content creators?
Wait, what's your wait?
Do you understand the problem of a content creator
about Rob Noor?
and it doesn't matter. It's a stupid joke. It literally doesn't matter. Do you understand the significance or the meaning?
He's farming us, Josiah, because he knows that these debates do well on his channel. He's farming us.
The impact that a content creator has when they go and they make a video, and every single time they open their mouth about the Democrats, they're telling their audience that the Democrats are just as evil as Republicans. They just
two sides. The uni party. They're literally a uni party. They are all special interest backed, all AIPAC backed. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Imagine you fed that rhetoric over and over again to your people, and then it comes time to vote. Like, how do you think they're going to turn out?
They make a video, and every single time they open their mouth about the Democrats, they're telling their audience that the Democrats are just as evil as Republicans. They just hide it better. They're rotating guns
saying that.
to do that. Yes, they are. What are you talking about?
Listen to me. As somebody
he literally said that in the last week, and I can't get you guys to notice this. You know, did it just go one ear?
I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it. They literally said that Joe Biden didn't want to do anything for his voters. They literally said that.
Again,
okay?
They said in that conversation, and they've said elsewhere, some genuinely unhinged, stupid shit. I will not dispute that. I will not. When I said that Biden couldn't govern by executive order the way that Trump can because Trump has a sympathetic Supreme Court and Biden doesn't, and Zach, whom I like, responded with, I hear what you're saying, but I don't give a shit. Like, that was dumb. That was just objectively stupid.
That's insane.
Wait.
Why does it need to be more than dumb?
But they voted for Kamala Harris, unless they're lying. They voted for Kamala Harris, and they have said, they've done two other things.
That Trump is worse.
And they lay into Trump now. Their focus is like their whole beef with Cenk Uygur is not because he's pro-Democrat. It's because he's too friendly to MAGA. And so, yes, they are more proximate allies to the Democratic coalition than somebody on the right. Certainly,
Why are you laughing, Hutch?
I'll take the vote, but you're saying like they're allies, but all of these people say the same thing about the Democratic Party.
I said they're more
wait, but you can't even, your mind can't even fathom the possibility that someone, just because they say they voted for someone.
Tell me more, guy who compared the Vanguard to Rob.
You're getting hung up on a stupid joke because you don't want to confront my point because you know I'm fucking right. Like, you can't even fathom the possibility that like just because they said that they voted for someone, that doesn't mean that they can't do damage every fucking day by saying stupid shit like the Democrats are evil and they, you know, like Joe Manchin is like he's like a deliberate plot.
Right.
So all I'm asking, you don't need to spend 20% of your day.
Why not? Why not?
Listen to what I'm saying. You don't need to spend a certain percentage, but stop hand waving it when it happens. Stop doing this like minimizing like it's not that big of a deal. They're just fucking, they're just like blowing steam off. It is what it is.
Why shouldn't we be exclusively punching left? Why even bother punching right? Why shouldn't we just exclusively punch left?
Well, we have to talk about MAGA, obviously.
Why? Because people are going to vote for Democrats probably for the most part aren't going to vote for MAGA.
Why do you think I say that we need to talk about MAGA? Why do you think? We're creators that cover politics. They come to us to find out what is happening that day. Is there a bill getting passed? Or is there something that Trump did with executive authority? What's happening over here in the Texas legislature? Like, people come to us because they want us to like.
So where's our time best spent, Hutch? I think that we basically, when confronted with these arguments, we do disagree with them. Sometimes like probably more politely than you would want us to, right? Is that basically we're too.
What do you say to liberals who agree with you and Hutch, but think defending Biden is also a super lame cult of losing? The problem is that history is important because people like to stand on history. People like to use history as a launching platform. And because of that, people will rewrite history when it's convenient for them to do so. Because if you know what happened in the past, you can say what happens in the future. Well, if you can change what happens in the past, then you can get people to support whatever you want in the future. So talking about what actually happened in Biden's term, talking about what actually happened in Trump term 1 is important because people use it to evaluate what they want to do going forward into the future, right? If I tell you that you had some result from something that was incredibly positive, you're going to do that thing in the future. But if it was negative, then you're just going to have bad results. So fighting over reality of what happened in the past is incredibly important. And you know it's important because the other side does it.
Too polite when we disagree with the Vanguard on like the student loan stuff and the Manchin point. Is that approximating your concern?
Yes.
I'm not trying to trigger. No. I'm not trying to trigger.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
No, it's one of the problem. No, it's one of the ways it manifests is that when we disagree with the Vanguard, that we're a little bit too polite about it. I'm genuine.
Yes.
I am not being facetious. Yes. Right. So you want us to be a little bit more combative with these people. And so when I'm on breaking point,
so she's okay.
Or when I'm like talking to Kyle to be like, why the fuck did you say this to AOC?
You don't need to say like that, but it needs to be more
AOC.
You don't need to say like fuck. You don't need to do that, but like certainly more assertive and less.
This sounds like what we said about Joe Biden, by the way, where like Joe Biden should like be publicly signaling and like he doesn't have to full on condemn Joe.
Joe Biden was the president of the United States. He has an entirely different role. I don't know if Joe Biden should be in charge of ejecting people at all from the party. He's the president. I don't know if that's necessarily his job, although that is what Trump does all the fucking time. But Joe Biden is the president. It's a much different role.
said about Joe Biden, by the way, where like Joe Biden should like be publicly signaling and like, okay, he doesn't have to full on condemn Joe Manchin, but like, if you understand what you're doing, you're kind of doing the Goldilocks thing that we were kind of arguing.
Joe Manchin, when you're talking about this is a political maneuvering to get legislation passed. This is past the voting stage. We're not talking about supporting people for votes anymore. We're talking about getting legislation passed. That's a totally different thing. If Hutch was in a business with a lot of these lefties and they had to like launch a product, I don't think Hutch would be saying, oh, we need to be critical. Then at that point, no, fuck it. Now you're full on fucking working together. It's a different thing at that point.
There are ways that Joe Biden can improve his rhetoric and his,
we don't have time to unpack just how stupid your arguments were last week.
Why is that comparison stupid? Actually, wait, no. What can you say?
The whole premise of the thing about like, you guys never even demonstrated that Trump's strategy of bullying people is better than Biden. You never even demonstrated that. You were asking me to say like, well, why shouldn't we?
Hutch is all about big tent coalitions when it comes to moderates, but not with leftists. Strange. Like, yeah, because leftists aren't about big tents. Like, I would invite somebody to my tent that will fucking murder me. What a stupid fucking comment. The tent should be for anybody that wants to vote and support the party actively and excitedly, exuberantly.
We do the thing that Trump is doing without even establishing that it's better. Like Joe Biden's track record was objectively better. Like his strategy was clearly better than Donald Trump. And you're asking me the stupid fucking question about like, why doesn't he bully people?
So did you have the impression the question was as between Trump's strategy on net and Biden's strategy on net, who produced the most legislation? Was that your impression of what the question was?
About what the question was, why doesn't Biden similarly bully his own party? That's what you said. That was the whole argument.
And is part of that analysis a comparison between the legislative accomplishments between the two individuals? Is that what you took from that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course. What do you mean? What else are you bullying your party for? Except to get fucking legislation passed. What? What is the point of anything in government if not to have policy?
And is part of that analysis a comparison between the legislative accomplishments between the two individuals? Is that what you took from that?
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't that be a part of the analysis?
So the question is, in fact, are there things about pressuring from the party that we can learn from Biden? That is not saying or asserting or at all implying that the better strategy on net for legislative accomplishments is to hook, line, and sinker by Trump over Biden. It is not at all asking for us to do a deep examination on the overall legislative track record. It's asking a much more narrow question, which I don't know how we haven't been able to like get this to stick. Are there specific
things? This is not my problem. You guys are not understanding what's going on here.
So there's a narrow question, which is, did Biden leave things on the table with respect to his optics and communication? And your answer to that is, of course, yes, he did, right?
No. We were very specifically talking about the tactic of bullying. Okay. And if we're gonna explore like why didn't you adopt this thing that Trump does, you have to establish that there's value there. If you just look at the facts, it demonstrates very clearly that Trump's strategy of bullying people it doesn't work.
Also, keep in mind, well, I don't know if I would agree with that necessarily. Trump's strategy of bullying people can work, but it only works as long as he has the power in Congress to do so. Trump can bully. Like, I think Biden could bully. Like, if Biden wasn't bullying Manchin or Sinema and we had 54 Dems in the Senate, I'd say, Biden, what the fuck are you doing, dog? Why are you making concessions to these motherfuckers, right? That's the difference. Donald Trump doesn't have to make concessions, although with some things, it's very narrow, like the big, beautiful bill, it got there eventually, but...
It doesn't work the way that Biden's does. And on top of that, in both terms, Trump had 3 votes to lose in the Senate. He had 3 fucking votes to lose in the Senate. A 50-50 is a totally different dynamic.
So it logically necessitates, if I say that there are aspects that Trump should borrow from, that Biden should borrow from Trump in terms of cohesiveness of the party, that there are some elements, or not even really of Trump, but we're arguing for our own thing, and his own style to do his own thing, but even assuming that were the framing, that there are some, in some ways, that Biden could be more of a bully, or be more active, or be more communicative, that you think that necessarily implies that we think that Trump on net, his strategy is preferable to Biden's, and we would need to demonstrate to you, in order to do this, we would need to demonstrate to you actual proof that Trump's overall strategy is more, accomplishment, it's got a better record than Biden's overall strategy. You think that one of those things implies the other? That we would need to show you that Trump has been more successful overall than Biden. You think that's what the conversation is about?
You have to demonstrate any value. You have to demonstrate any value to like the bullying thing. Yeah.
And I think we're going in circles. I mean, we're just going to go over whether there's a significant value to improve your polling numbers and whether we think that Biden left cards on the table by, in terms of optics and communications with respect to his polling numbers. And you're going to say he didn't leave any cards on the table and he couldn't have been more communicative and he couldn't have been better in terms of his rhetoric.
Thing altogether. Than
these are truisms, right? He couldn't have been better. Well, anybody could be better. Like, who's going to say no to that? That's a truism statement, right? Are you saying that this person couldn't have done a better job? Yes, I am saying that they did a perfect job. Like, what a worthless statement, right?
Could he have been harder on Manchin and Sinema, bro?
So listen, thing. I know that this is like, it is now demonstrated. I know it was threatened earlier, but now it's demonstrated that this is going to be a recurring topic of conversation. We didn't talk about anything in the title, and that's fine. But when this comes up again, I will want to explore what we all believe would be a better use of our time as content creators with respect to focus and why. And I think that's interesting. If we really believe what we believe about the left coalition,
so I would
and where. Wait, somebody mentioned that they have an argument about. What is this? I don't want to cover this shit the whole time. Okay, fuck.
Say some of the very basic things that Democrats should be united on would be like a pro-choice stance, pro-gay rights. The filibuster, to me, unironically, like that is probably the single biggest sticking point for me. You cannot be pro-filibuster and not immediately be on my primary target list in my head because.
What?
Is I think to be pro-filibuster, you're basically saying, I think the filibuster is more important than substantially almost every Democratic policy priority, and that is like an untenably stupid position to have.
But how did Biden pass so much stuff with the filibuster?
Incredibly stupid, insane, absurd position to have. I think the filibuster is more important than immigration reform, voting rights reform, protecting abortion rights. Like, really? That's one of those things that I think is like one of the most insane things that some moderates have in the Senate. Now, at this point, that's a minority position, but like, yeah, like the fact that you have like 5 to 10 Democratic senators that are like, yeah, we'd rather just not pass like anything. It's like, okay, well then it's like this is not a job for you. You shouldn't even be a senator. Go be a consultant somewhere where you talk about not doing anything for a living. Like, that's ridiculous.
Okay, so like just to start, let's just pause there. You had Democratic senators that were willing to do carve-outs to the filibuster to do stuff like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or maybe like codify Roe. But in terms of Democrats that would vote to get rid of the filibuster altogether, right away you've just put a bullseye on like half of the Democratic senators. So right away your set of standards would take the intra-party civil war to such an extreme where now we're targeting half of like sitting Democratic senators. And so like I just want to make that observation. And then I want to ask you a question. Like, do you make no consideration for whether the candidate or whether the politician that you're considering a primary challenge against, do you make no consideration for how strong they are in that seat? So like if we're talking about someone that has like 70% approval in that seat and it's like a purple district, do you not assign a certain amount of value to that would not be worth jeopardizing by a primary fight? Is that not any kind of consideration to you?
Well, it's certainly a consideration, but I think that with the filibuster specifically, I don't really think it's, I don't think that's particularly relevant. I mean, at a certain point, like, it's like, I just really believe in a lot of the basic things that Democrats advocate for. And also, I think it's fair to say, like, if you're a pro-filibuster Democrat, that's like an oxymoron at this point. Like, oh, I'm in favor.
Like, I'm sorry, this is just the perfect, I actually feel like this is like the perfect encapsulation of everything. And I guess now that Econoboy identifies as a socialist, maybe this is where his mind is, or maybe he's just subversive now, right? When it comes to liberals, we need to tolerate the outer perimeter almost of what socialists think and believe to welcome them into our tent, okay? Now when we turn our eyes back to the Democratic Party, though, there is no room for you in the tent if you support the filibuster. You have to be primaried, even in a super purple state. Like, where's the equivalence there? This is like, I feel like this is the perfect distillation of the issue of having tolerance with the intolerant, with the far left, is when it comes time to talk about their place at the table, they want the biggest seat possible for as many of them as possible. And then when it comes time to talk about your spot at the table, they will kick as many of you the fuck out as possible. Like,
immigration rights, and you're right, we should protect abortion rights, and gay rights are really important, and we should expand Medicaid. Oh, but I'm pro-filibuster, so basically we can't actually do any of that, and it's never gonna happen. It's like, okay, then again, like, what is even the point?
He also said that Destiny blocked him when he was asked if he could have a convo with him. I stopped associating with these people when, I don't even have strong feelings about, I don't think Aaron or any of these people did anything necessarily super wrong. I just thought it was really fucking weird when somehow Aaron is like ingratiated back in the logistical Discord server and is like co-hosting like streams and shit. And it's weird when Pixie's whole public argument was Aaron leaking every single message to President Sunday, and that video that got published was the whole reason why she had to go public, and she was suicidal and all that. I don't understand how that person came back with absolutely nothing said publicly whatsoever, and it was cool. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, this is fucking retarded. Like, I'm good. I'm just creating my distance, and I'm fucking doing my own thing. Okay. We were talking about Pisco, not Aaron, or are they connected? No, Pisco like co-streams with Aaron like fairly often. I mean, how often? When I checked before, they did it like 3 or 4 times in a week. And she's like a hardcore tanky, basically. So, not that the political stuff even matters as much, but I was like, I'm fucking good on that.
Point. Like, so basically what you're saying is, not you, but like a royal you, what you're saying if you're a pro-filibuster Democrat is that the only thing we can ever substantially do are temporary fiscal packages and around the edges tax reform. Like, that is like the total policy package of Democrats, and that is unacceptable if you ask me. We absolutely should not box ourselves in like that. It is absurd to do.
Okay, here's my issue.
All right.
We agree, because I know we've had these conversations, and me and everybody else on the podcast, we all think the same thing, which is that Donald Trump represents a literal fascist threat to this country. Not like, no hyperbole, like a fascist threat. Not only he is the threat, but what his movement has become and where that movement is going is a rising fascist threat. And you're trying to make the case to me that in the face of a very real threat of American fascism, you want to take steps right now that would amount to a full-on intra-party civil war, and it would fracture the existing coalition. You're trying to make the case to me that is a reasonable response to what the threat is from Trump and
You taking a distance but still covering their stuff is the worst of both worlds. You can't push back and it stirs hatred. I can cover whatever the fuck I want to cover. What do you mean? I'm fine. Excuse me. None of these people wanted to do any content with me for 5 fucking months. Okay, I got completely ditched by my entire fucking friend group. If they want to do content with me, I don't think whatever. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe in the future. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe in 5 years once I'm reformed. Okay, and I'm no longer a rapist. All right.
MAGA. I don't know. I know you are a smart guy, and I have no fucking idea how you could even begin to justify that.
Well, I mean, I've justified it on several grounds. I mean, I think that, number one, again, I think that the Democratic Party platform is worth being at least a little bit stubborn about, right? That, you should really care about filibuster reform as an example, because it basically means we can't actually pass almost any of the, Democratic policy priorities. Like, that's like a very long-term investment in the Democratic Party in terms of like getting rid of the people that don't agree with filibuster reform. And then when it comes to the threat of fascism, I mean, look, I've made it extremely clear that when it comes to general elections, I'm like 100% vote blue no matter who. Now, I guess not literally 100%. Like, it is conceivable to me that I would like vote for a party or like vote for, not vote, I guess, in general. But I mean, that would take like a pretty extraordinary circumstance. But yeah, like I think in primaries, it's worth picking those fights. And it's worth saying, look, if you're going to be a Democrat representing our party, you need to be a Democrat who, to your point, I mean, you've made the point several times before of like, it sucks. Like, Democrats run on all this shit and they just can't ever do it. And it's like, well, one of the fucking main reasons they can never do shit is because of the filibuster.
Yeah, somebody just donated. I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain to me how this works. Somebody donated and said, I don't understand why people want to get rid of the filibuster when all that would mean is that any law you want passed could be repealed with a 51-person vote. Can you steel man that argument? I don't know. I don't know why they think that the filibuster is... Like, if you get rid of it, now Republicans can pass unhinged shit with 51 votes, no? Like, I don't understand how this helps us. It feels like it just makes the government way more swingy.
This, like, completely made-up artificial bullshit rule, You don't
need to sell me on the merits of getting rid of the filibuster. Like, I think there's shortcomings with that sort of thing that could, like, bite us in the ass, but I think in the end, it's worth it to do that. So, like, I agree with you conceptually about, like, ideally, we would have a Democratic Party that would be open to doing something like that. That's not what I have an issue with. Like, so, like, a moment ago, you said that you would make no consideration to candidate strength. So if you...
I said the opposite. I said it's certainly a consideration.
No. I asked you... Wait, hold on. I asked you, do you make any consideration? You said no. What are you talking about? I said, like, I said if you have a candidate that's like polling 70% or a really strong candidate in that state or district, would that alter your thinking? And you said no.
No, I didn't say no. I said that would certainly be a consideration we're thinking about, right? But I mean, I think that the filibuster in general is a much stronger consideration for me personally when I'm voting in a primary. That, like, I think there's something to be said about. If people are saying yes, I mean, go back and like watch the VOD. Like, I'm pretty sure that I said this.
I think you said not really. I think is what you said, man.
Well, if I said not really, that's to say that it's a consideration, but it's not really the most important thing, right? Like, we can disagree on, I guess, like how important we view like filibuster reform in general. But I mean, like, my opinion is certainly that I think that like you should always like have a holistic consideration as to like who you're voting for in the primary. But I think that there's like a risk return and like long-term investment strategy here that I'm thinking about, where I think in the long run it is like significantly better for both the country and the party itself to reconstitute the party into a party that is like 100% in favor of filibuster reform, because that's just a way more democratic way to run things, and it makes it to where like substantially the Democratic platform could like you could actually credibly pass a lot of things that Democrats propose, whereas for the last like 20 years we've had this problem where it's like over and 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 over again, like Democrats propose like 100 policies every time they run for president, and it's like, yeah, we can do like 2 of these because
yeah, welcome. And Trump did 1 in his first term. It was tax cuts. Yeah, you have to get... He's asking for a dictatorship. That's what he really wants. Like, he wants on a razor thin edge to be able to pass, because he's... But this is the progressive mindset. Most Americans support it. They either don't know it or somehow the system is against them and it rigs it or whatever. With maybe a slightly more nuance to be made about the composition of the Senate, maybe. But, like, get more senators. Elect more people to the Senate.
Those are the ones that aren't covered by the filibuster and the fiscal rules. It's like, dude, just ignore those rules and just do them anyway. These are just stupid Senate procedural rules that you can change, right? Like is the platform literally just, like, is it just not that important, I'm not saying you. Again, it's like, to the Democratic politicians that actually make that case, it's like, what the fuck logic could you possibly be employing? It just seems like a very bad thing. But
I'm just going to repeat back what you said to me, or summarize it, and you can tell me if you think that this is a fair assessment. As fascism is ascendant in America, in response to that, you think that the Democratic Party apparatus should take actions that would necessarily shrink the tent. I also want to like add to that, the recent elections that we've seen have been like pretty close. So, and the congressional...
Okay, we're going to move on from this. What is this? A rare Obama office response to Trump. Statement from Patrick Rodenbush, spokesperson for President Obama. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response, but these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then-Chairman Marco Rubio. Nice. Somebody said, Zizek stole your messaging.
Nerves, Trump, we had 8 years of Reagan, 8 years of Bush, now we had 8 years of Trump. No, sorry, Trump is a moral change. The whole public, the whole space of public discourse changed into obscenity. Yes. Again, here we leftists should be more moralists. For example, to provoke my friends, I often argue for dogmatism. In the simple sense of, for example, I wouldn't like to live in a society where you have to argue all the time that rape is bad.
Right.
I would like to live in a society where this is automatically, dogmatically accepted. So when you get a guy who starts to argue, oh, but maybe women enjoy it and so on, ask for it, you don't have to, you just love it, you're a jerk, you're a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And here we are regressing. 20, 30 years ago, torture was unmentionable.
Right.
Okay, we were all...
I don't know if it was him that I stole this idea from or if it was somebody else that I read. But I agree with this, that there are some things that are probably beyond debating. And this is like where that weird conservative or MAGA like, oh, free speech is great because everybody should be able to debate everything at all points in time. It's like, one, you don't debate everything. You just normalize stuff and avoid debate. And two, like there are probably some things in society, like you only have so much like psychological bandwidth and like actual time in the day to consume and argue and talk about stuff. And the idea that every single topic, every single day needs to be up for debate is like, no, like we don't fuck children in society. Like we can move past that. We don't need to have this as an open debate all the time. But somehow this, or like, no, like, or he's going to bring up torture or whatever. Like torturing people is probably not a good thing. We can move past this in society.
States, I mean, not us doing it, but it was unmentionable. Now, the most horrible thing is that even those who are against torture silently accepted it as a topic.
Yes, yes.
And that's for me the truth. I'm not afraid to say this. Moral decay.
Well, maybe there's a reverse to that also, because I was talking to Trevor Noah yesterday. He brought up the point that people in this society, the American society, have never talked so much about sexual harassment, about ethics in government, about democracy. Since Trump has been in office, those subjects now are on everybody's mind. Maybe in the long run, it'll have
Let's go, because the problem, I almost more fear that it will just, especially since under Trump, it's horrible, I cross myself for saying it, economy is not doing too bad.
Right.
So it's quite possible that it will just serve this renormalization of Trump.
Yes.
Because, you know, imagine a typical hypocritical left liberal. You have a government whom you can fully despise. At the same time, you are not doing so bad economically.
Right, that is the irony.
Like to be opposition. That's the ideal.
Yes.
That's the ideal.
Right, like I could be against the tax cuts, and yet they will benefit me. Actually, you know, that's the irony too. You know, people who are actually against, who are for many of these liberal policies, don't really benefit from them at all, but they benefit from the opposite.
Here I almost admire Trump because it's now more or less proven that only the rich will profit. Even middle classes will lose.
Yes.
And he still, maybe he,
the public still supports it.
Yeah, almost. I'm almost beginning to think, but maybe he's a secret genius. He knows how to, you know, we normal people, we made one mistake. We still take argumentation seriously. So when we lie, we manipulate a little bit, we lie with a guilt feeling. We should learn from those guys. True lie is I look you into the eye and just repeat it.
Yes.
And when
True, where it's like, well, actually, you don't have any evidence for that. And it's like, I know I'm telling a lie and it's so horrible and blah. And these guys are just like fucking so shameless.
You prove me with data that I'm wrong. You say something like, oh, now you are diverting the debate to minor causes. You are avoiding the key issue. You have all this empty rhetorical...
Yes. Well, what do you think about that idea that Trump is using... I talked to somebody who was talking about the idea that Trump was a fan of Norman Vincent Peale and positive thinking. And so that while people are complaining about things that he said about the past, he's already describing the future. He's creating a future for the people that are sort of in his trance, while the rest of us are complaining about something he's already done, that's already happened.
That's a very good analysis. I think Trump maybe even half consciously plays this game.
Yes.
He's a master of diverting maybe even all his obscenities, precisely like you guys make fun of me with my obscenities and let me to do secretly the real business of tax cuts.
Yes. It seems like we get distracted very easily, and then his agenda gets played out. You know.
It's sad, yes.
Destiny, how do you square this with the 2016 to 2022 we don't debate Nazis attitude of the left that seems to have been a mistake? Because the problem wasn't when the left said they don't debate Nazis. The problem wasn't that they wouldn't debate Nazis. The problem was that they called every single conservative a Nazi. That was the issue. What is this? You're not going to go full John... why does God? Anthony Fantana. Oh, my God. Dude, Sam Hyde has been such a fucking blight on society. For not just for the neo-Nazi shit, but for how many minds he's broken. Who is he broken? Anthony Fantano, iDubbbz, Hasan Piker. Who else? Who are the other victims?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016,
Russia,
but
Russia.
going up all the
Say Russia, 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 don't come.
way going up
Russia,
to
Russia, Russia.
2020 and the
Say it.
election.
He's not gonna say it.
They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. No.
I think Russia helped Trump win substantially, not through collusion, but because they wanted Trump to win. And that is something she's playing down. What she's playing up is that they somehow broke the law in trying to protect Hillary Clinton. There are people associated with Barack Obama who leaned into collusion, without a doubt. And that wrong. I don't know if it's against the law. It was dirty pool. But mostly what they said was the Russians interfered with the election, and they did. I think
What would you label Bernie as politically? Most people consider him to be a sock Dem, and he's obviously further left in views, but he would and does support and rally for Dems, even Hillary back in 2016. He fell in line, I feel. Would people like him and his supporters be considered more true sock Dems that aren't just commies, tankies, liberals, sock Dems? Your earlier rant seemed to suggest any of these labels are super anti-Dem/liberal in the end. I feel like that's not completely accurate. I mean, like, it's not really. There's just too many people are unwilling to attack their side. I think if everybody was a sock Dem in the way that Bernie Sanders was a sock Dem, I think it would be fine. But I mean, like, look at the people that Bernie Sanders produced, right? Your Brianna Joy Grays, that weirdo dude that does that. It's not Tommy Robinson, the guy that with the weird magazine thing. Like, there are so many cringe weird people that came from his camp. Like, it just seems like for some reason, as soon as you start to fall to some extreme, you like lose the ability to criticize. Oh, Nathan Robinson, that's it. You lose the ability to criticize anybody, you know, like in your direction, and then it just causes everybody to go completely whack into some crazy extremist direction. I don't know, Jesus. AOC. One day ago.
So she's okay with Iron Dome support to Israel, which is ridiculous, of course, because the continued support to Israel's Iron Dome gives them credence to continue doing what they're doing. The fact that Israel faces no consequences whatsoever for their constant warring in the region, their escalation, their attacks, is part of the problem, you know? Like, you don't give a bulletproof vest to a school shooter before sending him out because you don't want him to get hurt. You know, you don't give conditional aid to Nazi Germany, but only air defense. You know, you're only giving them flak cannons so that, listen, okay, you don't support what they're doing, invading the Soviet Union, invading France, invading the United Kingdom, but you don't want German civilians to get hurt, so you'll give them some flak cannons so the bombers can't reach Dresden. You know, I don't buy this. She's always been like this. Yeah, but like more so than ever, attention is being paid to these critical issues, and I have no idea how you can expect her to lead the left when she's willing to place her like you're giving you're signing off on Iron Dome funding to a genocidal ethno-state. It's a pretty bad. The majority of Democrats already dislike Israel. For people who like AOC, those numbers are probably even more severe. For people who really like AOC, it's probably like 95% of them think that Israel's behavior is unjustifiable. I have no idea why she's like this. Didn't Bernie also always vote like this? Yeah, I wonder how much of it is like Bernie being a bad influence on each other, or them having bad political instincts when it comes to opposing the Democratic Party from within the left, you know? Because the feeling that I get, and I had this feeling especially with the that disastrous Instagram live where she argued that Biden shouldn't drop out, where she was acting as though she had insider info, but she didn't, because at the time Pelosi and other insiders were working to oust Biden. Stuff like that makes me think that she doesn't really know how to politically maneuver within the Democrats. She's been given the understanding, she's been given the impression that if she waits her turn and plays the game, she can make compromises to buy power and favors, and then use that power and those favors